title of the program today, it's the 22nd of March, is a scientific approach. And although we're going to get into other political, social, and of course historical and economic subjects, but I just wanted to begin with what we call here scientific approach. The first page that I'm starting with, you won't be able to see it much, but I'll pass it around when I finish so you can verify it. This is from, this is from around, I think this is 8/11/2003. Whatever it is from that year, 2003. So, I'm going to start by, like I said, this is a scientific approach. I have a few statements. First statement is about blood clots, and I'll pass this around when I finish. This clot started 10 years ago. Make study of what chemical could induce clotting. The same time I made some notes that said whether psychological, scientific, or physical, that we're going to keep on doing what we do, we don't care. We already understand what we're dealing with. Now this is 17 years ago, and I consider what was going on then as part of this same. I say that this period we're in right now started in 2002. 2002 was when we had our last national seminar here. And what the things that we dealt with during that seminar showed that it's time to evolve to another stage. This is the beginning of that transitional stage. And this is not the end of that stage, but this is a part of that stage. So remember, when we're talking about stages, we're not talking about 2-3 years or what have you. This is 17 or 18 years ago, right? But the notes will prove themselves. Clots started 10 years ago. That means that would have been around maybe 92, something like that. Make study of what chemical could induce clotting. Now remember, at that time I'm a runner. I'm running serious, running in the hills. You know what I mean? Got a pretty good weight and everything. Doing fasting from time to time. So the way I looked at it, there was no reason to have any blood clots. Okay. So, 20-something. I was still a youngster. I was not a youngster. Maybe 51 or 2, something like that. So now I have talked with 2 friendly doctors. So I'm making notes to myself to talk to 2 friendly doctors about, what produces, let me explain what's going on. I got married maybe in 92, and I got some blood clots right away. In my leg. So, anyway, So talk with two friendly doctors. It's simple that you're not going to trust what you think, you're going to do. This scientific approach. Okay. So at the top up here on the second page is this name. You can read the name and use. It says, beware, change the subject, permanently negative, da, 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 da. So whoever that person is at the top, their name is right up there, and you can see their name, and you can see that I already wrote what I'm thinking. This paper is kind of dark and what have you, because these notes come from a notebook that got wet some years ago, and I had to dry it out, and I kept the notes. So a lot of the notes you can't hardly see unless you put the copier on bright, 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 then it'll copy just the things that you got written there. So anyway, long story short. So it talks about beware of change the subject. These are people who are permanently negative. These are people who are permanently negative at that time. And whatever you bring up, they're going to change the subject in a sly way if they can. So I put simple game, but effective. It's simple, but it's effective. So then I got arrows pointing to, we got movement to build. She must manage, then make lists, build sisterhood, take focus off materialism. We are already ahead. And then I have this other arrow that says, remember, people don't give a damn about Mr. Nice Guy. Remember, movement agenda. Movement agenda. And over in the corner is a little circle around a note that was on the next page, and it looks like a 3/11/03 or 8. It don't matter. It comes from 2003. Advice for dealing with anti-movement, anti-Islamic imams, leaders. What should test, in other words, what test? It's just little notes. I do private. In other words, I'm going to have a private test for these guys. This is the 50,000th test. But this is the specific. And who's to do the test says, I'm most qualified. No collaboration with any group. For some reason, Imam Musa is persona non grata. I'll put an arrow here. Persona non grata. Now, this is years ago. How to check counterattack. Attitude, all challenge opportunity, do the opposite, do exactly, It goes on to say, manner. Head them off at the pass. Remember in the old Western movies, if a guy was going down a trail here, you would cut across the road, head them off at the pass. So we're talking about manner. And we're talking about head them off at the pass. They up to something, whatever they're up to, we're going to head them off at the pass, which we do. Self-confidence. Then it has something here about, we call it, around that time we built that little annex out there, and we have a little media. It says, open news headlines, predict enemy. And that's a website, predict enemy. Okay. So, predict enemy. Now, you think about all of these, you think about all our lectures for years. What have we been doing? We've been predicting the enemy. Have we been accurate? You have to think about it. You could see, just check where the arrows are and see if I was saying what was there. Although you may not be able to see it, at least it'll be close. It's 3 pages. Okay. And now, see, when we talk about protracted struggle, that's a long-range struggle. Other people might mean 2 years, 5 years, 10. We don't mean that. We mean until we leave here, we're signed up for the struggle. So we don't have it ain't no time limit. And when you think like that, you can flow with the punches. You can pull back. These notes are from 17 years ago. I have them all the way back from the beginning, you know. I have them back to 77. I have them back all the way back, you know. And it duplicated them so they can't just up and pop away. So anyway, where we are now is we're at a stage to where it kind of supersedes all the stuff we've been dealing with. It's still in play. But look around the world. The world is on an international stop. It's like, okay, some people understand it and some people don't. This is a big deal. There has never been anything like this in world history. What we're doing right now, there's never been anything like this in world history. Not like this. First of all, it wasn't possible in the old days. Now it's possible with communication. It's possible with websites. You know what I mean? It's possible with media. It's possible instantaneous global communication. Therefore, we can do this now. What is it? That the whole world is moving toward a global stop. Stop. Yes, stop. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Right. I mean, so you mean the world is just stopping? Yes, it is. Now we have to think, what do we do in this situation? What's our role? The global lockdown, the signs and the messages are run. In other words, there's been messages evidently been sent out, but people have been missing them, or they refuse. We talked about a few of them in Juma. 2 months ago, Australia was on fire. I mean, they mentioned animal death up in the billions, like this, maybe they was lying, maybe I heard it wrong. They said something like 33 billion. That means the little koala bears that they have over there, the kangaroos running around. Remember, Australia is a continent itself. That's a big place. But it's on fire, and it's something that happened in this earth space that we're living in, this can cause it for Australia to all of a sudden, they hadn't had this type of thing since 1933 or something. They have some things that go on over there. But the whole thing is burning up. Ain't nothing they can do about it. And then all of a sudden, right after that, they have a sea lift. There's so much rain, think about it. There's so much rain that it looked like Dunkirk. The people are being rescued on boats. Wait a minute now. It's dry, it's burning up, everything is finished. Finished. Right? Then right after that, there's a deluge so heavy that they gotta now go pick the people up off the beaches like it is Dunkirk, like during the Battle of World War II, they're picking up all the British and French troops off the beach. They got to pick up. This is all within a short framework of time. So that happened, and they went on about their business. Europe had, at the same time, was burning up and on fire. France was on fire. Everything in Europe was on fire. And see, in a lot of places in Europe, France, the old people was dying because they didn't have air conditioning, because it never, in France, they got the southern region where it's nice and they grow the grapes for wine. But it don't get hot, hot, hot. So when it get hot, 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 the young people and the old people are threatened by heat. They die. Young people, little kids, and old people. People were dying like flies. Ooh, the old people especially, no air conditioning. They didn't have any air conditioning. And they ain't got time to go run down and put up no air conditioning for the whole country, right? I was in California a few months ago. Dry as a bone, but it's not a bad year. The year, or this time last year, yeah, they were having a car fire. The car fire was up in Redding. The car fire was so hot that it had tornadoes within it. Fire tornadoes. And when you just pump air into a fire, just imagine that it's got a swirl. Now, if you saw the neighborhoods up there in Northern California, you would see that they were burned down. The same thing happened in Santa Rosa year before last. Santa Rosa is Northern California. Santa Rosa is actually where they used to raise all the marijuana. I'm sure they still do, Yeah, I mean like huge, it's big stuff. Anyway, if you saw in the newspapers, you would have seen Santa Rosa, the whole city burn. Last year, that was Paradise, remember, in California? It burned down. And the people, they would wait a while and they said, but then if they wait a few minutes, fire was moving so fast, and when the fire is, if any of y'all ever fought forest fires, sometimes the stuff was getting hot, 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 and then that kindling and all that explodes a little. When it explodes a little, it throws it up into the air and it throws it out, and say, if the wind catch that ember, it'll blow it, it might blow it a mile. And since it's in that wind, right, it's keeping it hot, because the wind is blowing it, it's hot, hot, hot. In the city, you ask any firefighter, man, if they got a house that's shooting stuff out and it catches over, you got grass all around, right? In the summer, maybe not here because the grass be green, but more fires. Now imagine the woods. When we was young, we used to fight forest fires. They got the CDC out there. You go to forestry camp and do your time. Actually, it's nice out there. You're in the forest and you're working hard, but those old-time forest fires, you could get trapped easy. You could be out there and the wind is blowing this way. The wind is blowing this way, and you out there making a fire line, and the wind change. You run over there, and then it change on your behind again, and guess what you are? Surrounded by fire. Amen. Then the white man come in on the pumper trucks, and he just say, well, boys, and he squirt you down to cool you off, and you still, hey, you still fighting the forest fire. And the white man is back there on the pumper truck, just squirting you to keep you from falling out. Anyway, you get a little experience with that. So you have, technically, I don't understand how hot those fires are because they didn't burn like that in those days. But a tornado fire, I can kind of imagine how hot that is. And then you look at the buildings, and the only thing left is a chimney or something. That means, now, the reason the chimneys are made out of brick. Now, on the West Coast, everything is made out of wood. On the East Coast, bricks everywhere. Right? So bricks don't burn. Right? But that wood, and with windows open and all of that stuff, man, that fire get in there, and it just, the wind pick up. Y'all ever heard of the Santa Ana winds? The Santa Anas. Every year. Thing is bad. It's not bad, it's California. California have a wet season and a dry season. Technically, this is supposed to be the wet season. It's supposed to be raining out there. And all the bushes grow and brushes grow, because it rains. Then around May, it could be April if it's early, but around May, it don't rain anymore. All those bushes and all that greenery, by July, actually now it's June, it's fire season. They call it fire season. Because you're just driving down the street, people used to throw a cigarette out the window. You knew it was a cigarette because you just go by the highway, them little roads, country roads, and that's where the fire, you can see where it started from. Somebody threw a cigarette out there and it caught on fire. Anyway, those fires and all that were signs for us. That was signs for the system. Everything, the crack in the economy in 2008 was a sign that your economy,